So I was able to pry the old one out, so I'll be able to reuse it. But what's surprising is that with these Brembos, for the amount that they cost, you don't get new pins and you don't get new washers. Like, what's up with that? So sometimes you might think your brakes look good because there's pad on either side. When you look closely, you can see the pad actually separated from the backing plate. So there's major vibration coming from these pads, and that would be the cause. This could be extremely dangerous, especially if the pad decides to slide out and break. So I'm glad we're getting this done today. Alright, so the last time we were out here, we cursed out the manufacturer for making these silly types of calipers, and sometimes you have no other choice but to buy a new set of Brembos. So you want to make sure you clamp the hose so that when you're disconnecting the caliper, it doesn't bleed all over and you don't lose too much fluid. And so now when I take the caliper off, whatever's liquid's here is going to come out, but it's also going to prevent the whole line from draining out. You got to make sure you get that seal. This is the washer for it, so you'll need that washer. Put the calipers back on. Without the copper washer, there's a good chance that the caliper will leak. Situate it on there. I want to clean the end a little bit. Got a little bit of corrosion on there. Not much, but enough to say so. There we go. Screw back in. This is a messy job, but it's got to get done. Just now, instead of dripping everywhere else, it could drip inside the caliper. Oh, so now it should stop leaking. These pinchers are awesome. Probably one of the best sets I've ever owned. They don't damage the line or nothing, so let me get these pads in there. See these arrows here match up with these arrows here on the backing plate, so you want to make sure that happens. So I just put a lug nut at the bottom of the rotor to keep it from moving. pads on. Get the new pads in here. Next, the inside. I believe this is where you put the pins in. Fix that nicely. Tapping on those pins, I gotta get the caliper rested so I'm not trying to hold that up too. So before tapping these pins in, I'm going to lubricate them right over here so that the next time we need to pull them out, we can do so. Also, there you go. Hopefully that will cure the problem. What I'm doing is I'm putting some at the tip here, and of course at the end here. I want to be able to put the clip in. There we go. There you go. Pinch it as much as you can. Stop the flow. It's pretty simple in this case here. Since we already got new calipers, we're just going to take the calipers off the way they are. We're not going to try to take the pins out. So when I'm having a hard time and I don't have enough room to get a pry bar in there, I use the butt end of the wrench, put it in, and I push down on it and pray for the best. You do it slowly because you don't want to snap the head off the bolt. If you do it too quick, apply too much pressure quickly, you might snap the bolt. Certainly not what we want to do. You can see we loosened it off. Easy this time, isn't it? Gonna need the pry bar. Alright. So when a caliper doesn't want to come off easily or separate from the pad, put the one bolt back in at the top. Secure the rotor first. There we go. So just to reiterate, to keep the rotor in place, I put the bolt in. One, just to keep the rotor from moving. Two, I put a caliper pin in. Three, I got a pry bar. There we go. You'll notice when you're doing this, sometimes you'll have songs play in your head or conversations you had with someone before. So now that we got the rotor out, we're going to put the caliper pin back in, just so that we can loosen the brake line. Alright, let's get this caliper going here. There we go. Oh, there we go. Oh, make sure you don't get any on the floor or on the ground. There we go. Alright. So, I took it off all in one shot. I gotta work on it on a bench. Doing it here is not gonna do anything, so. Put it in place. And now we'll put the line back on. And tight, she's in. Wonderful tool. If you can get one, get it. Well worth the money. A lot better than using the old stock cutter pinchers. There we go. Let's get it in place. Alright, let's get those pads into place. So I'm going to try to put the pad on. Slide them into the calipers. What will that do? So in case you were wondering what these pins actually look like. So on the one end, this end here locks in at the end of the caliper. This is the tip that we see sticking out that we usually hammer on, that usually gets flattened out. And we're going to try putting some grease on both ends so that it doesn't happen again. There we go. There we go. Alright. Let's get these pins in from the back. Alright. There we go. One in. Alright. We got it. There we go. Okay, let's get these calipers back into place. Oh. Okay, I'll lean it here and there you go. Pins are in. Tuck it in underneath. There we go. Self-bleeding is pretty simple. I got this from Canadian Tire. This part here, the bottle, that I put up against the rotor. It's a magnet. Pop this open. Okay, take the nipple out. Put this into the nipple. Now what you do is you take the 11mm wrench and you crack this loose. But before I do that, I'm going to pump the brake a few times to get some fluid into these calipers because they're empty. I pumped the brake a few times. I got some fluid into the caliper. I filled up the reservoir, make sure it was at its proper level, and now we're going to bleed it. So this is a self-bleeding system. So you undo it, and now you go pump the brakes a few times. So you pump it until the brake gets hard, which it has. Close it off, unplug it, let it drain down, make sure there's no air bubbles in there, and do it again. Want to make sure there's no air bubbles in the system. Solid line, no bubbles in the system. Okay, so that side's done. Release that. So because it's got pistons on both sides, I got to do this side as well. Okay, so it's just loose. Okay, you don't have to tread it off. Okay, so now I'm gonna go pump the brake a few times. Pedals hard. Take it out. Do it one more time just to be safe. Not convinced. Let's go pump it some more. Okay, it's pretty solid. Yeah, it's solid all the way through, so now we're good. Tighten it. Take it out. And now you gotta go fill up the reservoir. Make sure it's topped up, then we're done. Never forget about topping up the reservoir. Put the nipple back on. Now we're done. Take a look at the caliper, make sure the line wasn't leaking. It's good to go. Let's get the wheels back on, we're done.